welcome YouTubers. Really funny actually. I put a question out. Do you guys want triads or something on chord melody? And it was probably a little overwhelmingly on the chord melody side, but someone made a comment. Who was that? Absolutely deserves a mention. Now I've got to find Jonathan King. Let's go chord melody using triads to link. Why didn't I think of that? Well done, my friend. Thank you. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're really going to be combining the two things. And it's actually really funny because I've noticed that, a lot of people talk about triads. I hear people talk about triads a lot, but respectfully, it's like, and triads, cool. So, but how are you using them? What are you using them for? I made a video that was really centered around building off triads to play really excellent, cool rockabilly ideas, and that was the Playing the Changes video. So I really recommend checking that out. And that's an example of how you use triads. So if you know the key tones of a chord and we're playing a G, you can really work into that. There's another G triad here. It helps you locate areas, but you need to do that practice around them. So go check that video out. The video that I've made today, as you would have noticed in the intro, is using triads to create little chord passages. So in the very first one, I'll just show you guys the melody. It went like this. And that's over these chords G, so E minor, A minor, and then D7, which I did like, and I used the D9. So that's the basic. That's what we call the harmony. The harmonic structure is G, E minor, A minor, and D. So what I've done there is I've taken the melody and I've essentially harmonized it using chords. So chord melody is essentially when you're playing melody with chords. I guess it's pretty much in the title, but there's different ways you can approach it and different ways you can think about it. We won't get too complicated today, but for the purpose of this lesson, I mostly used what we call a diatonic triad sequence in the key of G. Don't run off. I'm just going to show you how to play it now. Okay, so this is the G triad. So we're on the 4th fret of the G string, and then we bar our first finger on those two, and that's our G. So just like the scale goes up to A, we move up to an A chord. So the root note there's G, and that's the chord that comes with it. The root note there's A. So this is a root 1 concept essentially, as in root note on the first string, play flat across, and you've got that A minor there. So we're essentially learning G major in little chords. So then when we go up 2 more frets to a B minor, same flat shape, 7, 7, 7. And then we play a C major chord here, so B goes to C. We get an E, a G, and a C. Every note we're using right now is straight from the key of G. There's nothing outside of the key of G at this point. Okay, and then we go up 2 more frets with the same shape because it's a major triad shape. These middle two, the A and the B, were minor shapes. Okay, so we've got C, we've got the D here. Then we've got the E minor at the 12th fret. And then this looks like a D7, but really it's actually an F sharp minor 7 flat 5. But we don't really need to get too far into that. These are just the notes available to us at this point, when we move everything up to its relevant degree. So E minor, we had a G, B, and an E. G goes to A, B goes to C, and E goes to F sharp, because we're in the key of G. We have an F sharp, okay? And then we finish there. So I'm using that chord scale to build along with that melody, and I'm also using ideas from the harmonic structure as well. So when I first played through the first one, I just played the melody. The second one, I just used the basic structure of the harmony. So I played a G, and then I went into the chord melody. Then I played an E minor triad. Okay, nice and easy. And then I played the A minor triad. Just like that. So the A minor triad. And then I played... so I really thought about the the D chord, or the D7, okay, just that box there really, or just a D, but I took the C from the melody, and it actually makes it a D7 chord, but it's really a D chord. That C is really there for the melody. You don't have to be too clever to just to play the right note from the melody. It was what we were going to play anyway. And then I finished by using a D9 chord, because if you check out my 10 rockabilly chord video that I put out not too long ago, I teach some of those chords. It was just a simple choice to make based off of a D chord and knowing that it would give us that note from the melody. So that's not too complicated. Okay, so next up, I made things more complicated. Now the G chord stays the same. A bass player could just keep playing G, but I used some chords in between to fill it. Now you could think of it as going, I'll show you what I did. Yeah, sure, I'm going G, A minor, B minor, but I'm really just think of it as harmonizing that melody. We're just, it's like doing a double stop lick. But we've got a triple stop lick, we've got a third note. So this is really one of the things that, you know, chord melody is. Okay? So really a bass player is going boom, boom. That's fine. We're still just calling the harmonic structure of that G, even though it looks like there's a lot happening. So, and then we've got our E minor. I didn't want to fill anything in there. Didn't really see the need to. So I've just let that go. Then we go back to A minor, and we're just doing the same thing, and we're still taking from the G major chord sequence, the diatonic chord sequence in the key of G. Diatonic meaning just from the key of G. From here, where we go. Okay, so A minor, B minor, C major, D. But again, do you really want to think of all that detail? You don't really have to think about that complexity. We're just borrowing from the diatonic G over the A minor, which is a diatonic chord from, it's just a chord from G. But, you know, so harmonically we're not thinking anything other than A minor, but we are moving in those triads, the A minor, B minor, C major. Okay, then I just play the 10th fret there. You don't have to play every note with chord melody, you can really break it up. And then we played the D7 again, but only this time we came back to that D9 chord there like that. Okay, so we played the same D7 as before, and then the D9, which I think I already mentioned that. So the very last time through, it gets a little bit more complicated. And it's funny because when I was noodling around with this last night, I actually improvised this and then had to go, oh, what did I do? And that comes from a place of just noodling around and having targets that you're kind of heading to. That's a whole, I guess it's a whole nother kettle of fish in a way. You really have to sort of have all the stuff down and probably have spent ungodly, unhealthy hours practicing. But the reality is I enjoy doing that work, and that's kind of how you get to that space. But then when I tried to play it for the demonstration, it was actually, I had to really think about it. So it was the, see, I'm doing it again. That one there, right? Oh, I didn't do the A minor run in the actual example. So let me walk you through that and what's going on. So I'm playing the G and I'm following the melody, but I've actually put a chromatic in there just like you would with the melody. I've done it with the chords. Okay, then I'm playing. Then what I did is I played. Now this one took a few years of thinking about to get this kind of thing into my craw, where I'm playing this E minor but upper fret. So I'm actually playing F minor. So yeah, it's complex because I've actually changed chord early. So we're thinking the key of G, right? We're thinking of G. All G. But now I'm doing that little... I've just come from a semitone higher from that triad, and I've grabbed the melody note, and then I've dropped it back down into the E minor, with our melody note being at the top of that triad. Okay? And, you know, that's over the E minor chord. So when the chords change, you do want to do something pertinent to that chord change when the overall harmony changes, okay? This stuff's not super simple, but hopefully you're following along. I mean, I'm making a video that is potentially available to anyone in the world. So, again, I'm doing my best to kind of hit a nice middle ground with my explanation and the depth. But obviously, as this video has progressed, it's got more complex. So the next thing we did after that was the A minor, and I did overcomplicate that before, mucking around. That's not what I played in the example. It was... I think it was just the A minor, B minor, C again, D. And then the only difference was that I did the D7, and then I chromatically dropped it down and changed it the last second on that last chord to that D9 shape once again. So they are the examples. I've walked you through everything that I did at the start. The last thing that I just want to do is I'm just going to have a little noodle around in the key of G with chord stuff. I'll think about that same progression and see what else happens. This could be great, it could be terrible. That's one of the beauties of improvising, especially, which requires practicing a lot of those structures and then thinking of melodies and kind of following them along. So let's just see how we go. Some different chords there, like different root. That's an E minor back here, a root 2 E minor. Missed it. Here we go. So I'm using sort of the more basic structure a little bit there, like the D9 to a D7. I didn't really do anything in between, but you can. What would go in between there that I might do? I don't like that. Don't like that either. Could do, not really like, actually, see, there's a little spot there. So this is a great example, actually, because what I would do now is I would say, well, what sounds nice moving between this inversion and this inversion of D? So maybe I could think like... the 5 chord, like throwing an A7 in there. This is way off the chart now. If we're just doing diatonic stuff in the key of G, probably actually something along the lines of G or E minor, like, so I play a little G triad, or I could do an E minor triad, like, that actually, minor chords actually go between major chords really nicely, and I feel like major chords go between minor chords, or minor inversions really nicely. Minor chords go between major inversions. So when I say major or even dominant 7, I'm thinking like a D7 to D7, throw a minor chord in the middle from the key we're working off, in this case G major, put the E minor. Actually works really nice. We could do that down here. Oh. Really, really nice. So this is a big one. Think of this as a, work through that example, and hopefully that gives you some influence and some cool things to play around with. But it's, this is definitely getting more towards the jazz and the sort of, the jazz end, where you really need to know your fretboard and know everything that's happening. That's the space I'm trying harder and harder to occupy. It's a lifelong thing. But it's really quite enjoyable. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll just, if you've got any questions or comments, put them below and I will play you out. That was a nice one. I'll have to see what that was.